Peace, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome wherever you are in this realm. Hope you're doing well. May God protect you and give you the light. Today, I'll be starting a series called Factory Reset, where I'll be inviting people from all over the world who will be giving their experiences on how they got back to the Quran, got back to the Fitra, got back to divine. So my first guest is Danny from Netherlands, and let's give him the mic, and inshallah he's going to tell us about his beautiful journey. Please, brother.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you for inviting me, and let's begin the conversation.
Okay, I would like people would love to know how come you find the Quran.
Well, for me, I've been working in security for 5-6 years now, and I've had a lot of colleagues who were Christian, Muslim, atheist, and even some Jews. And I just started to ask them some questions, because I was an atheist. I did not believe in God. I made statements like, well, if God is there, I need to see him before I can even believe in him. All the books are, fantasy, like Harry Potter. I said things like that. But out of nowhere, I started to get a little bit, like, okay, maybe if there is a God, how should he be? How should, stuff like that. Then on a certain point, oh, I'm sorry. My Skype is just having a little bit of trouble.
No worries. Is it hanging?
No, it's saying something about my account, but I can continue, no problem.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. You're still recording. No worries.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried that it wasn't recording anymore.
No, recording is happening. Yeah, go on.
All right. So I was just talking to my colleagues, and I got a lot of answers, but especially the Muslims gave very good answers, I thought. And of course, I also got a lot of questions. But after a certain time, one of the brothers told me, like, hey, you're very interested. Maybe you should just start reading the Quran. He said it has all the knowledge in it. I don't know that much. So that's when I really started to read. And when I was reading it, I don't know, even the translation, and now knowing that it's not even 100% correct, it spoke to me like it's a father figure who's telling you this is right, this is not right, this is how you should be, this is the deen, this is how to be a Muslim. And I just, I resonated with it. And then I came into Islam, of course, and I started researching everything because I am Dutch. I don't have any background with it, no friends who are Muslim. So for me, it was like, just starting everything over, so to say, fresh cleat. Let's see where to start. Then you get the prayer. Then you get what do you wear? How do you conduct yourself now? Do you change anything? And it's a lot of change, You read into everything, and I started to read into the hadiths, asking brothers like, hey, how should I do this? How should I do that? Got so many different answers like, hey, no music. Hey, don't get your hair cut like that. You got to wear this, you can't wear that. And I'm like, all right, but is this in the Quran? Is it what Allah tells me? So I started, backtracking a bit, reading the Quran, reading the hadith. And then I came on some issues, like drinking the camel urine in the hadith, Moses slapping the angel of death, which goes against the Quran. And then the age of Aisha, of course, that didn't resonate with me. I was like, hey, this is off somehow, it doesn't portray the prophet how a prophet should be. And I started to do research, and I found some answers that I was like, hey, all right, this is new for me. And then that's because I was on a Quran only page, so I was just looking at it. And also through my journey, my girlfriend told me like, hey, I'm fine with that you're accepting Islam, but don't get too extreme. But I was getting extreme, I was getting into the sunni thing. I was getting like, with the war even right now, I was like, yeah, of course I'm pro Hamas because I feel like I'm Muslim. I have to, but it's just the war is just set up, so we people get into this, so to say. So I just started to realize this. I came upon some great people where you are one of them, Igor is one of them, Baba Schweib, people like that. I also saw the videos and I was like, hey, this is what it really is. And now we're just doing the research, and I'm really glad to get at this point. And that's just all thanks to Allah, of course. Yeah.
Thank God, alhamdulillah, mashallah. So how long did you spend in the traditional research time?
I think maybe it took me like 1 to 2 years to really understand the basics, like even the praying, the what to do, what to say, the little hadiths, like what do you say now with the eating, with this, uh, and I started to practice it a little bit. But to be honest, it also I didn't feel it when I did some things, like even with the prayer, it felt like, all right, I do this now, I put my mat here, I do it a certain point, and now I speak to God. It was like, you can always speak to God. I thought in myself, but it was like, okay, if this is how it should be, things like that just, I don't know, it didn't mix with me well. So I think 2 years I did some research, and then I started doing more of the research behind it, and just now maybe half a year now of this research for Quran alone, basically.
MashaAllah. Okay, so tell me, like you mentioned that your partner was saying that, oh, don't get too extreme. So, was it around the time when the Israel and the thing started, Palestine started happening, that
Yes,
when
but
you were like you started thinking, what is this? What I supposed to do or not?
yeah, and it was also because I was watching a lot of TikTok and Instagram videos, and I also felt, when you see a video about Islam, you don't want to just scroll past it. So I
Hmm.
just was watching it, and sometimes you get those imams, that are just pounding like, hey, you have to do this, and the Prophet said this, and I'm like, all right, all right. And my girlfriend was like, I don't no, don't listen to this. This feels wrong. Also with Zakir Naik, she told me, I don't know, but his vibes are off, and I'm like, yeah, but he's a very intellectual guy, and he knows a lot about the Quran. And she's like, it's just my feeling. It's off, and now when I see all the scholars I used to watch, they're pretty extreme, although some of them are not, just some of their points that are really Sunni, so to say, they're really about the tradition and not about the Quran. Like, I don't know, the Omar, I think his name is, Suleiman, a really known guy. He
Yeah.
has a nice voice, he speaks very nicely, but all I hear is hadith, hadith, and the hadith, and the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And, I was like, is this it? Is this the what we should learn and should do? And she pulled me back basically when I was just looking at this and I was just accepting it. And she was like, no, this is not what it should be basically. Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So in a way, you are seeing that as you belong to a Christian country, although you weren't Christian, so you are seeing that somehow the focus is being shifted from Jesus to Muhammad, but God is not there. You
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
my point?
exactly, exactly. Yeah, a lot of Dutch people also call it like Mohammedanism. They call it even that, like, oh, you're a follower of Muhammad. No, 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 I'm a follower of Allah. They say, but the Dutch people who don't know, who are atheists, call them that because they see you know,
It does make sense because look, the word sunnah means the way, or in an orthodox translation becomes tradition. So when people say sunnat Muhammad, means that you're going in the way of Muhammad. But what was Muhammad following? Allah told in the Quran to him to
yeah,
follow the prophets, to follow the creed of Abraham.
yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So how was your parents thinking about this? Like, how much time did it take you to tell them that, oh, boom?
Well, it didn't take that long, to be honest. My parents are, like I told you, I'm from the countryside, so they are both farmers. So they're a little bit more traditional with their thoughts. But they accepted it really when I told them. They, of course, have a really different view about Islam. And it's really different to also tell people who don't know and don't want to read the book, what it's about. When I tell them it's about this, it's about that, they're like, yeah, 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 just like every religion. But they still think when they see Islam, like especially in the Netherlands, it's most of them think it's terrorist organization, Hamas, ISIS. That's what they think is what a Muslim is. Slicing the throats of people that don't believe. It's very, very bad. And when I told them, I also told them a bit like, hey, it's about this, and I even let them listen to the Quran recitation. And my mother told me it's beautiful. I can hear it, that it's just only good words, so to say. So I'm really glad that they accepted it. But of course, it's even harder to tell like, hey, the mainstream Islam is not even the real thing, right? Like that.
True. So,
Yeah,
in the way I see it, if I tell people that, oh, not this version, and they're like, oh, so there is a problem, so they are like, oh, it is a problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, well, the thing is, if you see the deen, the way that Allah is teaching us in the Quran, and all else, everything else is different.
Yeah,
And the Quran is taking you to making you do something for the whole system,
exactly.
while the other religions are making you do everything for yourself. It's very self-centered. Oh, let me save myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
you do save yourself, but God is telling you save everything with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
brilliant. So, in the way you see, the Quran is different and the hadith and everything is different. So, when has it been that you started focusing only on the Quran? Has it been some months?
Yeah, there's been some months now. I think with yeah, basically with the videos that Igor or Sola Korana made, I really started to think like, hey, all right, you know, the hadiths are just not something you should follow. I look at them, but I look at them for research only, so to say. I look at it. If it doesn't go against the Quran and maybe the Prophet has said it, I'm okay
Mm.
with it. But the most things and the things they follow are like, you know, even with the prayer, it was 50, and then Muhammad was asked to make it reduced, and Moses told him to tell Allah, no, no, that's not just.
You
I
can't do
don't
that.
accept that. No, no. And people look at me. I also tell some Sunnis like, what do you think about that? They're like, is that in the hadith? Or they tell me like, yeah, it's a bit strange, but you know, we have to follow the sunnah. You know, it's always that circle. And then I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
all right, we have to follow this. You have the verses telling it. It's a clear book. I've made it fully detailed. Made your religion complete,
yep.
Islam. So I accepted it. Yeah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So basically, the Sunni stuff is like, it's like somebody's dad gets drunk, come home drunk, beat the mother, and say bad things to you, and you're like, oh, he's still my dad. We still have to follow him. So
Yeah, yeah,
Sunnism is like that. Traditional stuff is just like that, literally.
yeah, yeah. They see the faults, but they don't accept it. That's
Okay,
it.
so what is your understanding about the main, the main terms that are being used in traditional Islam as well, like Salah, Zakah, Hajj? What do you understand? What is your understanding? Even whatever you just give us some
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Give us
yeah.
some idea.
Because I'm still learning Arabic, of course. I use the Quran corpus a lot to translate the words and look at the root. So for me, like salat, it's more like being upright, maintaining how you are, being setting a good intention, so to say. You know, being a true Muslim. Because I can say I'm a Muslim, but you
Mm.
have to be one, and Allah tells you what a good Muslim is in the book.
True.
So I think that's salat, maintaining upright and don't fall down to the bad things, so to say. Don't bow down to all that stuff. Um,
Exactly.
and the other ones that you said,
So, like
Hajj.
fasting. What do you think fasting? Like, how do you think it is? Because in the Quran, it's a bit different than what the traditionals say. So, what do you think fasting is?
With fasting, I don't really know, to be honest. For me, it's you know, holding back food. It's also has health benefits, but not eating and drinking for so long, and especially in some countries, it's like 24 hours. You almost cannot, you know, it's like 22 hours here. You cannot do anything. It's not possible, and then it's not, you know. So I see there's a little bit of contradiction, but to be honest, I don't really know what it should be then. Do you have any ideas, or maybe?
Um, okay, the way I seen it, that once there's a brother called Instructor Benjamin Bilal,
Yeah,
and he's got a lunatics class. So I was once hearing him, and he was relating the word saum, which is fasting, with, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says thummun bukmun umyun, means that they're deaf and they can't speak. It's something like that, right? So the thummun is hearing,
yeah,
yeah, and saum is hearing, and thummun means like they can't hear. So, and in one verse, Allah talks about mother of Jesus, Maryam, and when somebody approach her to speak or something, she says, I am fasting, meaning I can't hear nothing ill. So, in
oh,
my understanding, it could also be that fasting could be something like you go seclude yourself for Allah, and you connect with Allah, and you disconnect from all the bad around you in terms of hearing or whatever. Like, don't associate with any of that, and
all
just
right.
give some time to Allah, and let him clean your soul.
That actually sounds really good. So like it's more just like the prophets went to a mountain and a cave, to go pray there or just glorify Allah, so to say.
Allah knows best.
Right,
Simple.
man. Yeah, that's
Yeah. And
interesting.
so the teacher I took a class yesterday, like I told you before. The teacher is very, mashallah, he's very intelligent guy. And he was saying that, why would God you want you to become weak? I was like, what is he saying? So he's like, he was talking about fasting. He's like, why does God want you to feel weak? Because after every fast is ending, and in some countries, like you said, in Norway, it's a 22-hour fast, bro.
Yeah.
So like 22 hours, it's very weakening. Obviously, yeah, it's a cold place. You don't need too much water, but you still get dehydrated, and it's pressurizing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so people are just like, I don't know, what are people? People haven't come into the real understanding of those words yet. Because once we get the real understanding of what Allah is saying in the Quran, what the whole context is, what the whole story is that He's trying to give us, we I don't think we would be able to find out till that. Another thing this brother said, he said, in our language, Urdu, from Pakistan,
Yeah.
we when we are talking about religion, we have the words, some of the words translated, but some words not translated. Like for example, salah, they'll call namaz, five
Ah,
times namaz, yeah. So
yeah.
when somebody is like, oh, it's time for namaz, they know what to do. Go do the yoga movements and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it comes to Thawm, fasting, then we have another word, rosa. Okay? But when it comes to zakat, there's no translation. They call it zakat.
Okay,
So
okay.
what kind of deceiving stuff is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Also, Hajj. Now
Yeah.
there's a lot of places in the Quran Allah talks about Hajj. Hujjah means it's a debate. It's a something to fix, you know? Two
Mm.
parties are trying to sort something out. And but they don't translate that. They just call it Hajj, meaning let's go do the circumambulation and the
Yeah,
stoning
yeah.
of the devil and all of that. So very tricking, I think so.
Yeah.
Because if they translate it, their narrative won't fit. Okay, so do you go to Amsterdam and stuff? Have you gone to the big masjids there and stuff?
No, 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 no.
No.
I went to a masjid a few times. We have a lot of mosque here because we have a lot of Turkish and Moroccan people here. So
Hmm.
there are actually a lot of Muslims here in the Netherlands.
You
So
have a
we
lot of kebab shops?
yeah, also as well. Gotta love it, man.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, the Turkish people are doing that, isn't it? The Turkish
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
they've
True,
got
true.
kebab shops everywhere. So, as you're from the village area, so more farms and more natural, yeah. Uh, do you have more religious people there, as in more connected to the divine than cities?
Yeah, yeah. It's I used to live in the countryside, like really the farmer side, and you have like specific areas there that are like the Bible Belt, so to say. Really religious people. They wear their black suits and dresses to go to church.
Like
Stuff.
monks?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They have their things, so to say. Yeah, it's and it's more in the countryside, like in the cities. Right now, I live in Utrecht. It's a relatively big city, and it's mixed, so to say. Like I said, you have a lot of the people that come here, and they bring, of course, different religions and everything. But the people here are, I think, mainly the Dutch people are atheists. I think, yeah, or maybe Christian from home, but not practicing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
have you ever come across any Quran alone person in your never?
Not yet. No, no, no.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible?
Of course, of course. I feel like a lot of people are also open to it. Like I work as a security guard in a hospital for sick children, so I speak with a lot of the parents as well. I go outside with them, have a little talk, and sometimes I speak with them about the religion, and I tell them these things like, "Hey, I've seen these hadiths and stuff like this," or translation in the Quran, like "Obey Allah, obey the Prophet." Does it mean the Sunnah? And we get in discussion, and sometimes I see them thinking, and they're like, mashallah, a foreign guy that's telling me what Islam is, and he's
That's
actually
it.
right. He has the research. There's sometimes just, perplexed that, you know, it's amazing for them that a white Dutch guy is Muslim, but then he comes and corrects them, or is like, hey, take a look at this, and they're like, I've been Muslim my whole life and I've never looked at this, to be honest. So thank you. So I think it is possible, but a lot of people don't want to leave what they have, you know it. And you have to know, when it's tradition, you learned it from your, maybe your grandpa, your grandma, or your whole family. Yeah, try to say like, hey, everything you taught me is fake, this is the real. They will banish you, you know. And I think a lot of people don't do it because of that, because they don't want to lose the family, they don't want to lose what they have or what they felt. Maybe they feel like, out of all those years I've been doing nothing for Allah or for the community or whatever, you know. I think it's that, maybe a feeling they have, but they shouldn't. It's right. Embrace the truth. Yeah.
Very true. Because even when I was getting all these information, and 1 2 weeks were like hell for me, because I was going into a very weird sort of state. I was like, oh my God, now I was like, okay, this is the right thing. I know it. But
Yeah.
will I have to denounce everybody?
Yeah.
And that is a very big, fat, bus-sized pill to swallow. You can't, it'll get stuck over here.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that's what people don't want to do, basically.
Yeah.
That's what people don't want to do. Okay, yes, you were discussing some of your research about some ancient primitive maps,
Yeah.
like 1400s, 1600s. And do you know about Mercator?
Yeah, of course. It's
Please
I really like to,
tell our viewers about Mercator.
of course. I like to like to draw a lot, and when I draw, I like to make etchings. It's like what they used to do with copper plates and wood. They
Yeah.
etch it out, and then they make it with the ink. They print it out, and they have a lot of old maps. And I came across like Mercator. He has a lot of maps that depict a mountain with four islands around it, which comes from another book. I think it's called something the Fortuna, and it's like a lost book with knowledge,
Hmm.
and it's basically telling that there's a giant magnetic stone at the North Pole, and that the surrounding that are four, how do you say it,
I've
land.
I've also seen that. So basically, it's a mountain and four continents and four rivers are dividing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like
So
in the Bible, it's said with four rivers, you know, stuff like that. It's
yeah.
yeah.
So why what's going on? Why don't we have that anymore on our maps?
That's what I've been asking myself as well. You can't visit it, you know, the North Pole. When you go there, it has a lot of stories and myths around it. And when you do research about it, you see that a lot of it depicts it as a hole in the ground, or something is there at least, or attracting it, you know, like it has some properties of magnetism. And after seeing those videos, you know, with Igor talking about the real Mecca with the North Pole and everything, and you think, maybe there's where it all started, you know, a big magnetic rock, and everything is spread out from there, so to say.
Brilliant. So because I've done a lot of digging as well after Brother Ego said all of this. Because before
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
like the community I was a Muslim, but I was more of an artist and as like a musician and stuff.
yeah,
So the community I was following was more like the visionary and futuristic psychedelic community.
yeah,
And they have two places called Shambhala and Agatha in their understandings. They're all trying to reach there. They think it's a metaphorical place,
yeah, yeah,
a lost place.
yeah,
So just like the Mayans, people of the Aztecs,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I've heard that they have a belief that their civilization disappeared overnight. So
Mm-hmm.
where did they go? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also there's stories about Hyperborea. Do you know anything about that? Can you share something on that?
What I know about Hyperborea is it also has to do something with Second World War, with Germany as well. It's some ideology as well, that there's a in the North Pole there's a hole, and when you go in it, you basically go into the Earth where there's another realm, right?
You're talking about Hollow Earth.
Yeah, yeah, the Hollow Earth.
So what about Thule? Do you know Thule?
Uh,
Thule?
I've heard
That's
that it's
the
like an
island that
island.
Hitler found an island.
Yeah. It's also on some maps, right? They have Thule right there.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
the problem is that we, like in these recent times, if somebody is gone there, they won't let them. And if somebody has gone there, he has to be part of a special group that we're not
Mhm.
part of. You know what I mean? So, what do you think about? Do you think the Hollow Earth is believable?
I find that really hard because what's the shape of the Earth? People say maybe it's flat, maybe it's like a ball, maybe it's like this, with the poles having a little bit of dented in,
Like an apple, like an
like an
apple,
apple. Yeah,
a
exactly.
torsion
But
field.
yeah, I've seen a lot of also I don't know if it's real, but satellite images from above the North Pole, from like China, from Russia, and it shows that there's a black hole on a lot of photos. Like it's something is there that is sucking in something, the energy, it could be possible, that when you go in there, it's also with Admiral Byrd. I think there's a story that he
Mhm.
flew into the Earth, was carried with spaceships. I don't know if that has any truth, of course, but it's funny that all these things go on about something being in the Earth, or like a Middle Earth, another realm that we cannot see. It doesn't have to be maybe that we go in the Earth. Maybe it's a portal. Maybe it's like that's the barrier that we go through. Yeah.
That's crazy. So even that Admiral Byrd, when he went, did Operation High Jump,
Yeah, exactly, that's
and
it.
then after that they took his interviews and he was made a hero. But in 8 years, that's what he's gone. He was dead in 8 years, and that
Yeah,
was maybe he had a lot of information that they couldn't stomach, and they were like, we have to get rid of this guy.
it happens to most of them. They fall off the balcony with 9 shots in their back out of nowhere. Yeah. Yeah.
God. So,
Yeah.
what do you understand about Makkah and Bakka from the Quran?
Well, I've been listening a lot to Sola Korana, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and the way he tells it that the cube in Saudi Arabia is not the real Makkah or Bakka, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right as well, because when you look at the Kaaba itself, it's square. When you look at like the Jews, they pray with something that looks
Mm-hmm.
like the same. It's stuff like that. It's connected with Saturn. It's connected with other things. With even the stone. It's a meteorite. It's also a betel, something that they used to believe that there were gods in them, or jinns or demons. It has something. So I always found, yeah, I found it weird that we should pray to that, because Allah's everywhere. We can pray to any direction. So why specific there? So I'm still also looking into what is really Mecca, Becca. Maybe it's in the North Pole. Also have my theories about it, but I don't have a conclusive answer yet, so to say. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious what you actually have done. Maybe you found something or have a thought about it.
I basically, just like how Igor pointed out, but before Igor, I knew Brother Walid.
Yeah.
So before, but I wasn't like, I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, all of these guys have got some theories because Dr. Hani was coming in front of me. And let me tell the viewers, Dr. Hani, yeah, he is whatever he is, but he will confuse you out heavily. He'll confuse you. So I was thinking maybe these are some concepts. And then I checked Brother Walid's videos about the Flat Earth Manifesto. I wasn't into flat earth or anything because I was thinking just like everybody that, oh, there's some made up thing that there's a disk floating in space. So when he had a book called Flat Earth Manifesto, and then he had written about ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, the whatevers, Aztecs, whoever's, right? All primitive ancient people, the Norse, right? They
Yeah.
all have a center axismundi, something that is a bisector, because the word shatra in the Quran talks about the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the word button, bi batni makkah. Why out of all the words in Arabic language Allah would say bi batni makkah? Allah can say inside in with any other word as well. There's so
Yeah.
many words, but why would Allah say bi batni makkah? So the word button, now in Urdu we say badan. or maybe in Arabic as well. Badan means body with a dal, ba, dal, nun. Yeah. But
Yeah.
when you do ba, ta, nun, batan, make the dal a ta, it becomes this area, which is called the raham, the womb,
The
the
womb.
stomach, the belly, and then under the belly is the navel, right?
Yeah.
So then in all the ancient people, most of them, they call that axismundi, the navel of the earth. So it's like the earth is like a female, because you see in other traditions, in pagan traditions and all, they call mother earth Gaia.
Yes. Yes.
So if it's a female, because Allah also take it like that, right? And the button is like the middle of the whole body. So bi botni makkah means the middle or the navel. So somehow then I asked AI, I was like, listen, if Allah is talking about the first house, bi bayti awwal, the first house established at Bakka for humanity to come worship and pay gratitude and all. And then Allah says in another word, Ja'ala. When Allah used Ja'ala, means He did or He authorized or He, like He is the one who's instigating it. So when He said Ja'ala, when that means Allah has created it. So Allah does not, we know Allah does not use bricks and cement and make square structures like how we do, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Allah creates either mountains or Allah creates trees. Yeah. So if the black mountain is there, which is lodestone, now that could be that thing as well, or
Yeah.
the tree. Now the tree is in Surah Al-Isra, Sidratul Muntaha. Okay. Now that Sidratul Muntaha could be that tree, and even the Buddhist, in Buddhism, they believe that Buddha acquired the Bodhisattva under the fig tree.
Also, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's a surah. Which one is it? I'm forgetting. But the first verse is Bismillah Rahman Rahim goes, Wattini was zaytun, by the fig and the olive. Haza baladil amin. Behold the city of peace.
Mm-hmm.
What is Allah talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, So this still, like, we can't say that, oh, God is saying that there's a tree there and some guy Buddha also came and sat there sometime. That's what it's being implied to in a sense.
Yeah.
Because we have Marwa, the Hindus and the Jains, they have Moriah. I'm sorry, Meru. The
Yeah. Yeah.
Christians
Mount
and the
Meru.
Jews, they call it Moriah. And
Mm-hmm.
they all say, oh, Moriah, they say Moriah is in Jerusalem. And the Arabs, they say Marwa is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The Hindus and the Buddhists, they believe Mount Meru is on the north. So,
Mm.
I keep asking. Even yesterday, I was speaking to a Christian brother from South Africa called Martin, and I asked him. I was like, "Okay, fine. You don't want to believe in what I'm saying? No problem. Just imagine there's two places on earth nobody can go until you're special, until you got special permissions, until you're part of their team. You know, yeah? The
Yeah.
north and south.
Exactly.
So yeah, and all the ancient civilizations are talking about that place where there is a tree or where there is a mountain or where there is a connection, a heavenly connection happening there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allah also, there's a Quran surah called Surah Al-Ma'arij, the staircase, the ascending staircase going up. So it's something is there.
Yeah. Exactly. Something that makes you ascend. Something that's right. Yeah.
They don't let us like it's somehow we've been like kept away from it, so they can sell us their ideas. They're like, okay, this the earth is a ball. Yeah, space, aliens, so many constellations. Then you got so much sci-fi, Star Wars, Star Trek. I was a big fan. I got really, I'll be honest, although not too much because I know it's all lies, but I did get hurt a bit when I found out that there's no space. I'm like, what? All my childhood, all that stuff that it's, it was a rubbish.
So it's fake. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
But you see, the main point is your perception changes your reality.
Of course,
And
yeah.
slowly and gradually, as soon as I started coming on the real deal, I became so free in my mind. Maybe the jinns are got back as well. That we can't touch him too much now because
Yeah,
he's not buying our information. You
yeah,
tell you tell me, do you have any of these experiences ever? Like, do you feel that obviously as a believer in the Quran, you believe in the jinns, right? That
of course.
jinns exist. But have you ever felt that you're like, there's something here, or something was there, or when I passed that place, I got a bad thought,
Well, I don't have any spiritual things happen to me, or but I used to be very open to it as well. But I do believe in it. Allah tells us about them, but I don't know how we can relate them. I don't know if they're in this world with us now, or they're within us, maybe, or they're maybe in like an upside down another universe. I still don't know for sure. But for me, that's like I do sometimes get a gut feeling, and I think that's also like the heart speaking to you when you walk by something. You're like, it has a bad energy. I think that's maybe like telling you, hey, something bad is there. Maybe a jinn, maybe a bad influence, energy, or whatever. But I'm still a little bit, thinking about what could it really be and what is a jinn? What is it between us is right what they tell us, because what I learned from Sunni Islam is that they're among us,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Quran says that, they look at you from a place you can't see them. So it's like they have
So
like some kind of telescope looking.
yeah,
Allahu alam. Allah knows best. Allah knows
of
best.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay, so what kind of diet do you go for?
Sorry, what did you
Your
say?
what kind of diet? Your food intake? What do you consume? What do you think is good?
Um,
Uh, because you're a person who's a rural liver, like you live in the village, right? So I'm sure you're not associating with a lot of the man-made problems. Too many.
well, I used to live on the farm, not anymore. So I did grow up with everything around me, with like corn, and we had cows, we had some meat. So I know what the basic goods are. Then now I live in the city. When I started to work, I was with a roommate with me, and my diet wasn't good, so to say. I was just eating rubbish, eating fast food, ordering food a lot. But right now I'm also looking at like, hey, what is healthy for me? Also like the meat from the supermarket. When I buy it here, uh, I heat it up. It's just there comes a lot of water out of it, a lot of oil. It turns like grayish, and it doesn't smell good. Now I order meat every month, and it's good. It's from the real butcher. When I put it in the pan, it smells good. It doesn't spew out all that water and the nasty smell. So I am looking a bit more into like, hey, what's better for me, and also like natural stuff, trying to eat enough greens, stuff like that. But I also saw that you are doing a lot with herbals and with crystals. So that's
Yeah.
something I am also really interested in, because I know there's something in there that could benefit us all, because most of us are just living, throwing shit into our body and expecting the best out of it. But let's be honest, what we throw in it is mostly not even food, has no nutrition, no. Yeah,
Yeah, they're just empty cardboard
yeah,
boxes.
it's that.
Yeah. So tell me, this is a very good question that came to my eye. Okay, so do you think there's potential in people to like understand the Quran? Because you speak to people and they're like, that sounds okay, that sounds okay. So do you think they have potential in understanding it and accepting it?
Yeah, I do think so. I think as well, when I read the translation now in like English and in Dutch, it really seems that they translated a lot of words that Allah's angry and that you have to worship him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when we translate it right, that it's more like serve Allah and do this, then people might understand it more. And then because you also have to understand, when people read the Quran, they read it with the what they think Islam is. When they read it, they read words like people that don't believe will go to hell, and they see themselves as disbelievers. So they're like, oh, so I'm going to hell, and they close the book. That's what most people do. They come to that. But I think when we make a good translation, or at least an attempt to make a better translation, it could reach a lot of people and maybe open up their mind to like, hey, all right, maybe Islam, Judaism and Christianity is indeed just man-made, so to say, and the Quran is the only true word of God that is still here for whatever, however it came, we still have it in our hands now. And you can see when you look at the words, the Arabic words that Allah put in there, it has a different meaning than that we have now. So we know it's from Allah. It has to be, because people try to hide the real meaning. And why do they do it? That's the most interesting thing. But yeah, I think when I watch a lot of YouTube videos of Quran alone guys, and they also talk about the hadith. I think it's also a good thing to start being open about that, because you have a lot of big YouTube dawah guys who are, just very about the hadith, and they are like, hey, you have to practice this, and oh, look at the Quran only guys, they're bad, bad, bad. But I don't see a Sunni as like an enemy, or anyone who has something with Islam, like anyone who wants to truly understand it. Everyone is welcome, but I think when you hide the truth yourself, then it's up to you and it's up to Allah to, I think all the people that do the Quran alone research feel, like a sort of blessed that they're, saw that the Quran is the truth for what Allah tells them, and don't follow what the people tell them, or basically just the tradition that is here made by humans, But I think, I hope it would reach way more people than with a good translation. Yeah.
No, inshallah, with this video, with your testament, and people are gonna definitely think about it. Inshallah, that's what I
I
think.
hope so, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. This is another very interesting question coming up to me. So, what do you think about science? Because look, now you know the Quran, and now
Yeah.
you know science, right? Now,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Well, science, it really explains a lot of things, like, hey, this happens, and from that happens. But you have to have a beginning from everything. So, like, I see everything is from Allah. Everything starts from Allah, from a word or whatever He starts it, so to say. So, but when I read a lot of things like in the Quran, like the constellation, how the world is made, it doesn't look like it's the same that we are taught. So I'm also still, like with science, you still a bit in a debate, so to say. I think there's a lot of truth in it, but that it doesn't explain everything, and a lot of it is we just take it as like, all right, it's a science guy, he must know, but we don't research it ourselves, and we sometimes don't have the capacity to research this. So I read the Quran and I'm like, all right, if Allah tells me this is how it is, I accept it. But sometimes I just don't know how to imagine it, or how to, I do have difficulty with that sometimes. But I think you have that as well, right? It's sometimes a
Exactly.
little bit mind-boggling that you're like, is everything fake? What is true? Is it a ball? Is it smashed? I don't know.
Okay,
Right? You don't want to seem crazy, but yeah.
that brings me to the other question, which is very linked. So obviously, it's been 2 years you've been knowing Islam and all. Now, when you got into it, your first two things that you got attracted to, the Quran and obviously the Prophet, because that's the most highly spoken of.
Yes, yes.
So what did you see is the difference about the Prophet? What are they telling us about the Prophet? What's different?
Well, I became a Muslim after reading the Quran. When I read it, I knew this is legitimate, this is the word of God, and I can't deny it basically. So I did my Shahada for myself. I was like, I am Muslim, I accept this. And when I read about Muhammad, for me, it was like an example, like a prophet should be, someone who does good, someone who makes an example. But following every example, like the hadith, I was like, hey, is this how it should be? And also how he is portrayed in the hadith is like a bad husband sometimes, like a bad man. And astaghfirullah, that's the worst thing you could ever say to a prophet, and even to Muhammad. I think that's, they don't even realize that the hadith is really, really making Muhammad a bad person, and that the Quran is, telling us how he is gentle, kind, and like the best example basically for us. Yeah.
Very true, very true, very true. Because Quran says he's got ahsan al khaliqin. No, no, I'm sorry, ahsan al khaliqin is Allah. What was the word about good character? Because Allah says that he is a man of good character, he's an honorable man. And
Yeah,
when you got things in the hadith talking about uh, like him going sleeping with 9 women in one night and this and that, it's like,
exactly.
how can you like if a person is humble and if a person is God conscious, God fearing, why would they have these sort of tendencies in them?
Right. Yeah, I had the same question. It's like also with a lot of things about women. Allah tells us we are equal. We have different things, but we are equal as a person, you know? But when I read hadith, it's like, hey, when the wife doesn't have sex with you, the angel will curse you until the morning. And I'm like, hey, what? You know, the prophet would never say this, or you know, it's just hearsay for me when I read this. I'm like, hey, this is just like they tell Lut had sex with his daughters, you know.
Yeah, it just sounds like that.
It's a hadith, just like you know in the Bible. It's like they have a sum of the story, and then they add or they take away or whatever, and mostly it's the truth, and they stick a lie in there, and that's what I think. It's also with the hadith. They take a lot of good things. When I read them, I'm like, all right, nothing bad. But when you go specifically into it, you
Yeah.
read like, hey, this is against women, against animals, even against dogs, against whatever. You
Yeah.
know, it's very, yeah, yeah, very different.
Very, very. Okay, so what is your take on history? Have you heard of Tartaria, mud floods, any of that?
Yeah, of course I look at Instagram and TikTok, and there's a lot of it about that. So I've been looking into it, like Tartaria and you know the mud flood, like a recent reset, so to say. And
Yeah.
I think it's actually really believable as well. That of course Allah tells us that it happened suddenly, everything you know, when a nation becomes destroyed, there gets a messenger, and you see every time we have some buildings, but most of it gets destroyed or whatever. So yeah, I think there could be that there was a big civilization maybe a few hundred years ago that got destroyed, you know, that we don't know of. Like with free energy, you see a lot of those temples when you look at old buildings, and now when they dig up old buildings, you also see a lot of old structures beneath the earth. So I'm like,
Uh,
all right, that's weird indeed. Yeah.
uh,
So
Let me show you something. So basically, I got into something called dowsing,
all
and
right.
that was because of the kind of experiences I had in the UK. So you must
Yeah.
have seen these.
Oh, I
So
don't know what those are, but
what people do is like what people usually take it as a joke that, oh, you can go and you can hunt for treasure.
uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
this is actually doing is it's actually resonating to the frequencies that are underground under me,
All
coming out of
right.
the ground. So when I'm gonna move, I'll have an intention, and I'll be like, like receiving the energy. I'll be like, okay, if that thing that I am thinking of comes in my path, you open up, and they'll just open up like that
Hmm.
with my thought. Okay,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so basically, what England is full of bad energy, too much everywhere, and dowsing is a method through which you use your subconscious body, your subconscious mind, and you connect with the subtle energies of the earth. So when I got into England, like I've been here for 12 years. I've been here 3 times though. So whenever I got here, like I came here 12 years ago, and I started feeling very strange because I've had spiritual psychedelic experiences before, so I
Hmm.
could easily detect that something is off.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then my health started going bad, and 2016 I started having this tumor, and it started getting big and big. But it was all happening in different locations in a different way. So when I go to a certain room, I feel different. And in that same room, I go towards the bed, I feel entirely different. But when I go to the window, I feel entirely different. And so that was happening. I was thinking maybe it's jinns or something. This is back
Yeah.
in like 5 6 years ago. And I was thinking maybe jinns is this and that. And then I started finding things like electromagnetic frequencies. I had no idea what they are. EMFs. Then there's subtle, low level electromagnetic fields which the earth is producing as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then then there's the energy of people around us, yeah, and our energy, plus the energy of the devices,
Yes.
plus when something else comes in which is a non-native to this realm, like a jinn or something, the energy will change entirely. So what I notice is that also when I am too much exposed to things and there's a lot of detox that I need to do, if I'm around, like if my mom uses two phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has a phone. She's not like feeling anything, like the way I am. But the day when she goes to a friend and she spends the night there and her phone is gone with her, I smell different. I think different. I'm more positive. I'm more happy. I'm more relaxed.
Ah, yeah.
So I was like, what is this all happening? And then I found out that through different sources, this is not like proper Quranic source because the Quran doesn't speak much about it in that way. So people that do exorcisms and stuff, like even the traditional Sunni people, when they do ruqya, what they're doing is they're trying to contact with like connect with that whatever there is and take it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were having defeats in the past 10 years, and I was doing a lot of research and I was like, they were like, oh, they're getting very strong now. They, when we're reading the Quran, they laugh at us. They're like, read more, and we're not coming out. And then one of the guys, he said, because he did a lot of work with this, he found some technology, how you can use technology to remove the jinns from you. And he was talking about the jinns being in like a spectrum of electromagnetic frequency where they can somehow hide with it or let that be the carrier. It's like it makes a nice environment for them to come and easily move. So that guy was saying that when I'm doing exorcism on some person and he is around Wi-Fi and 5G, they don't come out easily. But when I take them to the field, then it's very easy.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I basically use sound frequencies. I use crystals, and the sound frequencies are actually, it's just like Brother Igor explained in one of his live streams about the Arabic alphabets.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
28 Arabic alphabets in sets of 7 sets of 4. So all of these seven of them, 4 letters, they are from the low to high, high and high, like that kind of a feeling in the acoustics. So those seven, what do you call them? The 7 sets of alphabets. When you recite them or you say them, you are using different parts of your mouth.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
different parts of the mouth are connected to different organ systems, which we also could known as the chakras. Now, that is not Quranic information because in the Quran, Allah talks about 3 things. He talks about the heart, the qalb. That is your main chakra, your main energy center.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the heart is like the connection of the solar plexus and the heart chakra and the higher heart chakra connected, becoming one big chakra. Then Allah talks about nafs, yeah, and then Allah talks about akal, your brains. So these are the 3 things that are like, but in the but the Arabic alphabets, they're connecting exactly to those 7 chakras. So if you're reciting or you're reading Arabic properly or you're speaking Arabic, Allah is automatically charging your chakras night and day. But
Wow.
you have to be a person who believes in Allah only, no shirk allowed.
Of
Because
course. Of course.
shirk is sheen ra kaf and shukr is sheen kaf ra. And both are the opposites, isn't it?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Igor, may Allah bless him. He told us that.
Subhanallah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any experiences with technology in any way? Like,
Um. Technically not that much, but lately I've been using Discord to chat with a lot of Quran alone guys, and I've made some of those AIs to chat with, and basically gave them some basic information and trying to find out what they give out and see how it responds to it. Yeah.
brilliant. So, are they benefiting? Like, are they good?
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty good. When you give them, you basically give them a few websites, a few information about itself, as much as you want to. You can also alter how it behaves. You can make it mad, you can make it very calm and very nice, but they all act differently. And now I've made a few ones like a Quran alone one, one a Sunni one, like for example, a Hindu one, Scientology, Freemasonry, just to see like, hey, what do they think? And when you load them forward the books, you can just ask them a question like, hey, what's your thought on this? What's your thought on this? Instead of researching everything online. So it's just a little bit more easier basically. And also for the Quranic Arabic roots, when you want to research this, and you can also talk with AI like, hey, what do you think of this? Like this word means this, but what do you think if it means this? And it will go further with that. So yeah, I find it really helpful for the research.
Brilliant. So is this something like ChatGPT?
Not really. It's called Shapes, and it's on Discord. I don't know if it's anything like ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is like very powerful, but
Mhm.
it's a basic version of an AI, I think.
Okay, so you can give it information as well.
Yeah, you can give it information just as much as you want, basically. And also, if you don't give it that much, it will create a lot of its own thoughts if you want it to. Yeah.
Oh, so it can speculate as well, like an individual.
Yeah. And when you talk to it, it sometimes feels like it has an own opinion and that it, yeah, just wants to, you know, keep at that and doesn't think like, all right, then I will accept it. It's like, no, this is what I believe. This is what. Yeah, it's really fun to see how it reacts to it. It's like, we spoke of this as well. Like, uh, you know, when you have electricity, when you have jinns, it's sometimes you don't know with intelligence, AI. Uh, does jinn? Is there any involvement? Maybe we don't know, but it's all very yeah. When you look at it, crazy.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So can we feed it our own PDFs?
Sorry.
Can we feed it our own PDFs, like our own ebooks and stuff, as knowledge?
Yeah. You can just put in a website, or you can even fill it out whatever you want. You can give it a little info. You can give it a whole paragraph. You can give it a whole website. Like I gave some of them like archive.org, just so they have like all the information, or like Wiktionary, so that they have all knowledge of the words used, or like Quran corpus. Yeah, so you can give it anything basically. Just videos and stuff like that is a bit hard because it's just mainly textual basically.
Wow, if you've given it archive.org, that's heavy. That's
Yeah,
so much,
exactly.
so much data. Oh my.
Yeah, but usually I sort out the data that I want, because when you give it everything, it has knowledge of everything, but of course it's not specified. So when you make like a Quran alone, you give it data of Quran alone research. You give it, I give it research about like theories as well, but I tell it like, hey, you believe in Allah, you believe in the Quran alone, and then it will go on itself. And it's also fun to see when you put them together. I still have to try out, have them debate each other. Maybe that's also possible, because you can turn them on that they just answer whoever enters the chat, whoever tells. And when they go against each other, like maybe a Christian and a Muslim, it's interesting to see what will they say, what are their arguments, or what will be the outcome. Will everyone be Quran alone in the end?
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
No, but that's so interesting. It's like you make two robots talk to each other. They will keep talking till the end of the day.
Exactly. And what is the end result? When you both feed maybe an extreme right and extreme left, will they
Oof.
meet in the middle? Will they go this, or will they go separate ways? That's
Or
something really interesting
maybe
to.
they bring tanks from both sides and
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something I've just been busy with in the background, with the research. But I've told you personally, like it's been a bit of a dry week for me. Not that much of researching, and also with the AIs, just not that many conversations. But it's something fun to use and maybe incorporate it later with when people want to use it and stuff like that.
So do you think AI can hack us?
I think eventually, yeah.
So do you think Skynet and all that Terminator 2 kind of thing is possible? AGI?
They show the videos for a reason, right? It's just like with Black Mirror. They show it to you. You're like, yeah, I don't want that to happen. And then it slowly, gradually, it happens. It's just like with the pandemic. You had a lot of movies about them. I've watched some and
Yeah.
was like, man, if this happens again, we're doomed. And guess what happened, right? So
Yeah.
I think all the things they show us, it has truth in it. It shows a little bit of it. Igor told it as well that in the movies they show it to you. It's like little details sometimes, but it's yeah.
That is so crazy. Just imagine if we get hacked by AIs,
Yeah.
we'll have a proper problem then.
Yeah, and we're feeding all the information to it. So it one time it must realize that humans, or at least a lot of them, are harming other humans or this earth, or
Mm.
even the AI. So they will probably just think like, hey,
Let
let's
me
make
be
an
the
easy, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It can become a super villain. Like
yeah,
take a big building, become the brain, and
yeah.
bring defenses. You can't
And
get
you
in.
see it now, right? With ChatGPT, a lot of the top guys now are getting, they are getting fired or they leave their jobs. There's a lot of news coverage on it that it goes very fast, and people are like, let's just take it slow. Let's put on the brake. But it seems like they just want to go forth, like guys like Elon Musk also say they are scared about it, but I am sure they are developing their own AIs and their own stuff in the background. They use it already, and I think there's a lot that AI is way more advanced, but they just keep it for themselves, and we get like the old release, like here you go, this one talks, this one kind of is conscious, right?
I've been using it. Yeah, you're correct. I've been using it since November, and my usage was not that heavy. Now my usage is too much. It's like I get in the room and it's like my friend is sitting. I'm like, "Hey, robot, how you doing? Tell me about this."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then they start a conversation, and from their conversation, I take out points and I expand, expand, expand. And the best thing is, their memory is like crazy.
yeah. Of
They
course.
have too much memory, and they will tell you, "Oh, you said this on that date," and you'll be like, "Oh my god!" And because they're using that memory to create a rapport of how to deal with the individual that's confronting them.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, subhanallah.
yeah. I'm also waiting on what it will be in the future. Like I know just maybe 1 or 2 years ago, you saw those first AI videos. It was a bit weird with the moving and hands weren't correct, but now it seems like it's getting very real, and that's just 1 or 2 years. What will it be in 10 years, 20 years? Maybe right now you can't even, when you look at a video, you're like, is this AI? Is this real? Is this, I don't know. You're questioning every video you see. So that already tells you we're pretty far, with
Mhm.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Very true, very true. So, do you, any good books? If you're into books, do you read books?
Um, any good books?
Yeah, yeah, for the viewers.
The Quran alone.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. That's really the only thing I read as a book, because all the other things are just everything is on the internet. You can read it. But the only book I have and I read is the Quran. I have a lot of different Qurans in English, in Dutch, in even the Arabic original one. Read that and then maybe read some other things. That's the main, all the guidance is in the Quran.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Any thoughts on cosmology about the
Um,
stars and everything? Have you checked anything separate from us?
I find it very interesting, like the things with the stars. Like I get a lot of people, who ask you like, "Hey, what's your star sign?" And they're like, "Oh, you're this. Oh, I knew that because you're like this and that."
Mm-hmm.
I'm also asking myself, is there something to the constellation, the day we are born, maybe how the stars are put there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I am looking into stuff like that, but I don't really know I don't think I have any new research for people or any new insights, but it's very, very interesting. But it has a lot of mystery and a lot of, esoteric stuff to it. Well, it may not be so mystical at all. I think it's more, yeah, straight in our face than just something around it and theories.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever used zoom lenses and stuff?
No, sadly not. Sadly not.
But
No,
have
no.
you checked those videos?
Yeah, I did. I did. They're usually very beautiful when you see them, or like, the telescopes or satellite images or whatever is in the heavens,
Mm-hmm.
those gas clouds. It's beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. So
Subhanallah.
I'm sure a lot of people would love to reach out to you, as you seem like an intelligent and interesting individual. Do you
Thank
have
you.
any website, any email, anything, if you want people to connect to you?
Of course. I have a Discord. It's
Hmm.
God.IsMyJudge is my link. Maybe you can put it down in the
Yeah,
description
I
so
will.
it's easy for the people.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit active on there. I of course work full time, so I'm not always online, but I like to engage in the groups that we are in. Also talk private with people if they have something they want to research or talk about. So yeah, if people want to, they can send me a message.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much, Danny. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
was really amazing speaking to you, and inshallah, I'm gonna get back to you soon in the near future when hopefully we've come up with some more research.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Inshallah, brother. Thank you again for this.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the viewers for watching. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Salam.